y'all, today I'm here to talk to you guys about the best books and the worst books of the year so far. In 2021, this year. I'm gonna get my bullet journal here. I didn't read a lot in January. I read 11 books in January, and my favorite book was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This book is genius. It's just a twist after another twist, and the final twist is like the twistiest and the best. And I gave this one 5 stars, and it so deserved it. This was stellar. It's about a bunch of people kind of stranded in this island, and then one by one goes dying off for some reason, and nobody knows what's happening. It's really good. 5 stars by Agatha Christie. In January, my least favorite book was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I didn't have that one. I know it's like a favorite for many people, especially in the booktube scene. People really love that book. I don't know, I just didn't click with it, and I didn't have to. And that's my answers for January. Let's go to February. In February, I also read 11 books, and my favorite book was The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. This book, it just warms your heart. It brings you so much joy. I could read this book 100 times from start to finish without pause. It's just so lovely, and the illustrations are the cutest, and they're done with this innocence, and I don't know what to say about this book. I think it's for every age. If you're older, if you're younger. I had my mom read this book also. She loved it. This was a 5 star. Next, I also gave 5 stars to The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas. It was my first time reading this book. I'm doing the Throne of Glass reread this year, but I haven't read this one yet, which is like a prequel to Throne of Glass. It has stories, short stories involving Selena before the start of the story in Throne of Glass, and it was so great how she inserted characters that we already know from the series in this one, and it was just good all around. Perfect. 5 stars. And the book that I gave the least stars in February was The Death of Mr. Westaway by Ruth Ware. It was so boring. It was just really boring. That's all I can say about it. I almost DNF'd it. I didn't, but I gave it 2 stars. It bored me to death. It's supposed to be a thriller. It's not supposed to be boring. So let's go to March. So in March, I really had time on my hands because I read 21 books, and my favorite books were How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. First, I read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and I wasn't very impressed. But then I read How to Stop Time, and it blew my mind. It's so good. I gave this 5 stars. I love Matt Haig now. Only haven't read 2 books by him, and I already bought more books by Matt Haig, and I'm intending to read them. This is about a man who doesn't die. He grows I mean, he dies, but he grows old very, I'm not saying any spoilers, okay? He grows old very slowly. Like, if he's 30, he's gonna look like he's 15 or 11. So, in his life, he's gone through a lot of trouble having to deal with that. And it's amazing. People should read this book. It's really good. Also, I gave 5 stars to As Três Marias, de Raquel de Queiroz. It's a Brazilian book by a Brazilian author, and of course, and it's all that I could have asked for in that moment. I've always wanted to read Raquel de Queiroz, and I started with As Três Marias, and it paid off. It's really, really good. This edition is beautiful, and it's about the coming of age story of Maria and her 2 other friends who are also called Maria. I don't know, it's really hard to explain what this book is about, but it had so many beautiful quotes and so many beautiful scenes, and I loved it. In March, the least favorite book was, people are gonna hate me. In March, my least favorite book was, there's 2. The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I DNF'd it at like 80% because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was so boring. I know it's a classic and I know people love it, but I couldn't take it anymore. And the one that the people are gonna hate me for is Anne of Avonlea. I also DNF'd it. I just was finding it boring, and for me it was just more of Green Gables, just kind of recycled. And I don't, maybe I didn't give it much of a chance to shine, but I read 21 books in this month. I was just gobbling them up, and if I wasn't enjoying something, I just DNF'd it. So Anne of Avonlea was one of those, by L.M. Montgomery. Now we go to April. In April, I read 18 books, and my favorite book of April was Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gornal. This book is such a hug, such a beautiful story about a coming of age of a girl who has agoraphobia and she can't leave her house, not even like step outside the front porch. And it has romance in it. It has mental health issues. It deals with so much in such a light-hearted way. It's a funny book. It's a lovely book. It's written with affection. You can feel that while you read this book. It was really, really good. 5 stars. And in April, the book that I was most disappointed with and I gave 2.5 stars was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This book was such an anticipated book for me. I've said that so many times, but it fell flat. It was because, you know, I've never read horror, but I was really, really ready for it. But this book doesn't have horror, like gory, scary stuff. It's just gross. It's just gross. It leaves you feeling grossed out. I didn't like it at all. Now we go to May. In May, I managed to read 23 books. and my favorite book was, I can't stop talking about it, Impulse, by Ellen Hopkins. It's a book about 3 young people who try to commit suicide in 3 different ways, and they are sent to a rehab center, and it's their day-to-day life in that rehab center, and it's stellar. It's written in verse, not in prose, but the verse has a rhythm to it. It has a poetic feeling to it. And in all the books that I've read that are supposed to be novels written in verse, I've never felt what I felt reading Ellen Hopkins. It's just something that I've yearned to find for so long, and I found an Impulse, and it was 5 stars, and it punched me in a way that will stay with me forever. It's really, really good. It's sad, but it's really, really, really good. And for my least favorite book in May, it was The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Ava Lovelace. I gave that one star, and it's not even a novel written in verse. It's supposed to be poetry, but it wasn't. Like, this novel, which is a novel written in verse, it has more poetry than that book. The Princess Saves Herself in This One is just like sentences chopped up and put in form of a verse. It's not poetry. It's not. One star. And then we go to June. Shandy, my cat's trying to destroy everything. So in June, my favorite book was It's Not Okay to Feel Blue and Other Lies by Scarlett Curtis. It's a non-fiction book about anxiety and depression and other mental health issues and how to deal with them, and it just has essays and commentary about that from a bunch of influential people, and like Emma Thompson and Matt Haig and Charlie Cox and Ben Platt. It's just Charlie Mackesy, who's the writer of The Boy, the Mole, The Fox and the Horse, and it's a breath of fresh air. It made me feel less alone. It's really good. And the book that I hated the most in June does not exist, because in June I didn't read any book that got less than 3 stars for me, so there wasn't any bad book in June for me. And that's it. I finished with a high. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you stuck all the way through the end of the video, thank you so much. Hit subscribe and like, and I'll see you soon in a new video. And have a great day and awesome week. Bye bye.